Hey there, athletes. Coach John Ferry here from Team Wilpers. Very excited, as always, to welcome you to our athlete briefing. This is for week 5 of our 2023 holiday run challenge. I had to bring back the sweater for one more week before this program was all said and done. Didn't get to thank Christy last week, but thanks, Christy, for creating the first ever Team Wilpers ugly holiday sweater, although I do find it quite beautiful personally. So thanks again for that. Certainly hope everyone is having an amazing week 4. I hope you're certainly honoring the unload of this week and keeping things nice and easy. That, if you're able to really pull it off, should set the stage for a really nice finish to our holiday challenge here. So let's go ahead and jump straight into week 5. So week 5 is going to start with our VO2 max interval runs, very similar structure to week 2, week 3, not week 4 where we took it easy, but structure kind of falls back to normal. I want to take a second this time and talk about the warm-up, because I don't think we've really done that so far this challenge. But as I was looking at the workouts, I was like, it would be pretty reasonable to look at it and have questions about why a workout had a warm-up that was longer than the main set of the workout. So we're looking at 15-minute warm-up, 10-minute main set really for the most part, and then our cool down. And that warm-up is inclusive of striders. Certainly, I think you would have to include the hip mobility part, that 3D lunge matrix that's included into that warm-up as well. So the reason is that the higher the intensity of the workout, the longer we need to warm our body up to prepare our body to handle that high level of strain. So it all starts with that lunge matrix of moving your body in multiple directions, getting your body opened up and prepared to take it. We move into that easy running. We include the striders. This is a great opportunity for a workout like this. It's sometimes tough to figure out where the pace target is on those striders. When you're moving into a workout like this, where you have a pretty high-end pace to get to, that also can become a really good opportunity to kind of target as the peak of your strider. Which, just a reminder, doesn't mean 15 seconds all at that time. It means you're hitting that high pace for just the final second or two of that acceleration, just touching on hard. Because it's a pretty, a fast pace in general, you have to be thoughtful. There are multiple striders for a reason. It might be that you have to work up to that pace over a couple of pushes to get up there. The striders are a bit left to your discretion of how you utilize them is certainly a little bit up to you, but what you're doing is ultimately trying to get your body kind of revved up and ready to take on that high level of load. So our main set, 2-minute intervals, finished off with a 3-minute interval in sort of our base level here. So we're starting to get some serious time at zone. I did want to bring up, this is a pace that for most, let's say for a lot of us, is going to correlate in and around what our 20-minute distance test pace is. So one, being here in week 5 of a 6-week challenge, really good thing to sort of settle into, get some feel for right now. 2, a little reminder to you that this is a pace that you can hold for 20 minutes. So while 2 minutes, and certainly in combination 2 by 2, 2 minutes on twice and 3 minutes on, so 7 minutes total time at zone, that accumulation of time at zone starts to get there. This is a pace that you can hold for longer and you already have over the scope of this challenge. So just keep that in mind when the interval starts to feel tough, that this is very much within your wheelhouse. Wouldn't give you it if I did not think that was the case. And, as I mentioned, the distance test is coming up again for a lot of people if you choose to do it here at the end of next week. So a great opportunity to sort of get primed, get really reconnected with that pace after our unload week last week, and kind of get keyed up for the end of week 6, where we do our second 20-minute distance test. Key run number 2, our threshold run. So once again, similar structure, going to basically 3 by 7 here as the main structure of our kind of base level workout on threshold. So while these are lengthy intervals, this workout is very much in your breadbasket. So as discussed in the past, Threshold is an endurance race pace. So by definition, per se, maybe a pace that you could hold for as much as an hour. Many of us cannot hold threshold for an hour for a lot of very good reasons. So let's kind of frame that as a pace at least you could hold 30 to 40 minutes if you were in a race. That's kind of what you want to be feeling. So when you think about that, in the first 7 minutes of let's say even a 30-minute race, if you're really struggling, you still have 23 minutes to go even to get to that 30-minute mark. So you're gonna have to reduce pace in order to feel able to do that. In this workout, we don't want you maxed out at the end of each workout. This wants to feel like an endurance race effort. So it would be better to reduce the pace down a little bit, to start off by half marathon pace, maybe try marathon pace if even half marathon pace is too much. Those are both paces that are at a very high percentage of threshold, but not all the way up there. So they're going to be sub-threshold workouts. You're going to get a very similar stimulus in terms of the training, but what the feel of that wants to be is something that is an endurance race effort, a pace that you could hold for 30, 40 minutes. So try to keep that in mind. And if you're feeling, once again, completely maxed out at the end of those sets, try to reduce the pace down a little bit and take it a little bit more easier. Key run number 3, our endurance run, nice and easy. Great opportunity to reduce the pace, eliminate the stress of the structured workout, and just go have a nice little fun run. It's always finishing the week with our endurance running. So we'll jump straight into questions that have come up this week. We had some really interesting ones. Always good this week, really interesting ones. Had to take some time here. So first question is kind of a 4-parter, which all does relate. So it says, for the 5 run plus strength schedule, how would you reorganize the week's workouts to have Sunday as the rest day instead of Friday? And maybe what is the preference, rest day before or after the long run? Part 3, your schedule limits back-to-back run days to 2 or 3 and never back-to-back strength days. And then part 4, I was wondering if there was also a consideration of which hard strength and hard run goes first in the week or is part of the 3 in a row run plus strength. So we're going to work there, not exactly in order. So answer A, totally acceptable to reorganize the week, to shift the day off based upon your schedule. We kind of create one for everyone. Not everyone has Friday as a great off day. An awful lot of people would prefer to be off on a weekend day and have that kind of true, day off. So doing this particular swap, the Friday for Sunday, is actually kind of an easy one. Really, all I would do is move Sunday to Friday, and you're kind of done in this scenario. The big consideration you have to take into effect is whether or not having that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, back-to-back run day is too much for you. It is for a lot of people. And so you have to be able to identify that of, is 4 consecutive days of running too much? Does it open me up to injury, etc.? It's also going to give you a back-to-back strength day, but I'll loop back to that. We'll skip to answer C here, which is our schedule currently limits the maximum number of runs back-to-back, or we have either the most being 3 in a row, then kind of a 2 spot, and it's not by accident. As I mentioned, 4 consecutive days of running is a lot for a lot of people. So we kind of have a 5-day run schedule as our max as opposed to a 6. Once again, not by accident, suits most people the best. A 6-day week run schedule is pretty darn advanced. Very few people are maintaining it all the time year round and staying healthy while doing so. So can it be done? 100%. There's 6 and beyond. There's absolutely ways to do it, and plenty of people can, but it is a pretty aggressive schedule. So very intentional that we put those breaks in the week. And once again, it's just something you have to be cognizant of when you start moving your week around. Similarly, on strength, having that day off in between sessions sort of allows for some recovery time. It also allows for the potential of having that soreness that you're carrying workout to workout and kind of letting that subside before you go back into it. So do people do back-to-back strength sessions? The answer is, of course they do. And is it a bad idea? Not at all. Sometimes it is a great idea. It just depends upon the kind of total combination of things that you have going on. And really, not even more than that, how quick do you recover from that session? As a matter of fact, this is a tiny bit off topic here, but I had an athlete I worked with for a long time, and her biggest fatigue off of strength days actually came 2 days after the workout itself. So we had to be very cognizant that when we applied the strength training, she would have a big workout actually the following day, and then 2 days down the line, a little bit of something off. So in that scenario, a second strength workout could have been possible. Putting one of her key runs, which ultimately what we did, was possible right there because that soreness didn't set in for 2 days, and it happens all the time. And then kind of the answer D here, the hard versus not hard strength, etc., in terms of how they're oriented in the week, is sessions 1 and 2 of our strength training week are actually our priority sessions. Session 3 is great, tremendously helpful if you can maintain a 3 strength session. It's what one of our, not Ava, but Ryan, I always like the term he calls a glue day, like GLUE as opposed to glute, which is very much something that's kind of designed to glue you together, activate those key muscles and get them kind of primed for the week ahead. So really good session, but if I had to pick 2 sessions out of the week, I would pick session 1, session 2, and session 3 would be a supplemental one. So moving a Sunday to a Friday, if that back-to-back strength day is too much, I'd probably consider dropping the 3rd session off of the week, at least until you get situated in that new schedule. And then finally, to round this out, and hopefully I've hit on all of it, is whether the rest day is before or after the long run is both are great. There's not necessarily a right, wrong, or indifferent way to go about this. It's just going to totally depend upon your training experience and your desired schedule. And something I think we touched on briefly last week is my best advice in terms of coming up with this, especially a day off before or after long run, is to make that ideal schedule and make it as consistent as possible. Our bodies crave routine, and when we deliver it, they respond very, very well. So if you are always coming into your long run off of key workouts, off of a long week, your body's going to be accustomed to that. If you always take that day off in advance of the long run in order to rest up and get ready to go, your body's going to become accustomed to that. Ping-ponging back and forth, once again, can be done, not preferred. So I would find the thing that works best for you based on your training experience and try to mimic it as often as possible. Next question. He said, I'm loving the structured workout, but I miss my weekly boot camps. I'm running 3 times a week and completing the roll call program right now. It's off season for my main sport, which is golf, and it's the best time to really get after it in the gym. So when is the ideal to fit in a boot camp? So we're about to start a mini little soapbox here, but we will have a conclusion and a point. So we'll start off with some of the pros of boot camp. Boot camp is fun. Boot camp is high energy. It certainly can be high intensity. There's lots of variety, etc. From a training perspective, however, some things we know is we see the biggest running benefit from more of a sustained effort and using very thoughtful work to recovery ratios to attack different energy zones and periodize those energy zones over the course of a multi-week or multi-month or multi-year process, so which doesn't tend to present itself a lot within the scope of a boot camp. On a strength perspective, I don't think we've talked about it during this challenge, but for endurance athletes and repetitive motion sport athletes in particular, runners, cyclists, swimmers, etc., there are a few things that I always share with strength that are the characteristics of how to train strength and power. We want those exercises usually relatively slow. We want the weight utilized during the exercise is pretty heavy. We want the sets and reps to ultimately be pretty low. The movement to be highly controlled. And then when we're really getting into writing the plan, we want to be moving towards the inclusion of plyometrics, and a lot of single leg activity as part of that workout. So that's how we train strength. That's how we train power. So when we think about boot camp, we're not really getting the running gains, and we're not really getting the strength gains because of the nature of that style of workout. So in terms of getting better at the run, in terms of getting strong in your off season, not my favorite activity. That being said, not everything has to be super productive. There is 100% a place for fun and in fitness. And as I kind of laid out in the beginning, there's a lot of reasons why boot camps are fun, and there is certainly a time and a place to include them in your schedule. And while I just said in off season in terms of building strength and power, I don't love them. Off season is an excellent time to diversify your training portfolio, replace some, let's say, key runs with a key bike, or replace key bikes with a key run, or replace a key workout with a boot camp, etc. This is a good time to allow yourself some leeway, because you spend a lot of the year being really thoughtful about that. So where would I put it, however? And due to the high nature, high impact, high intensity demands of that, it becomes, for me, a key workout as part of the week. So when you think about our challenge structure, we do a 3 key workout every week. We do 2 key runs, we do our long run. That's our 3 quality workouts of the week. So if you want to bring in that boot camp, what I would do is just replace the intensity marker. So you don't have to necessarily drop a run altogether. You would just take that run from a structured workout to an easy run, and utilize that boot camp as maybe the second key workout in the week, where you're really getting your heart rate up and pushing hard. So in conclusion, while I will always be a little bit shady about boot camps, they are fun, and at the end of the day, what we're all really here for is to kind of have fun, get better together anyway, so go have fun. Next question here, similar theme, which is following last week's talk about multiple disciplines, when in the context of running challenges, would you recommend to do a 20-minute FTP to set our zones for cycling if we notice they are off and need an adjustment? So very, very great question, very similar to our previous theme here, which is where to put a very hard cycling workout, in this case an FTP test, into a running week. So we'll actually start with maybe where not to put it in your week. We definitely don't want to include it in our planned off days. We definitely don't want to include it in our planned deload week here, which we're in the middle of. I've certainly said before, I'm sure I included it at some point last week. If not, then, shame on me, this is not a week to push really hard in other modalities just because we're pulling back here. On your key running days, you don't want to add another workout to that key running day. And similarly, if you're running a 3 key week, which I just talked about, you don't want to then add another high intensity workout as the 4th day. So all of a sudden have a 4 quality week. Don't like it, don't do it. What would be better, so where to place it, is to pick a week in which you feel okay dropping the intensity of one of your quality run workouts. So it would be maintaining one of them, moving one to easy pace, and inputting the intensity there in your cycling workout. What was I going to say here? Got lost in my notes. So where you want to put this workout in your week is going to be a little bit up to you. So we talked earlier about how to reorient the week to best fit your schedule. We use obviously one specific scenario in that example. There are plenty of other ways. But you want to set this workout up in a place where you're going to feel rested and ready to give a really nice, strong effort on that test. Very similar to our 20-minute running test here. That 20-minute bike test, if you're using the FTP test, those zones are going to be with you for a while. So if you're not able to give a really strong effort, you're not going to get the numbers that are really reflective of your fitness level. So you want to be able to really go after it. I did think that this was an interesting opportunity to talk about, we've shared in the past some of the pros and cons of the 20-minute distance run test, and some of the things I like about it, some of the things I don't like about it, etc. So certainly there are similar things on the 20-minute cycling test. I thought it would be worth bringing up that that's not the only test. Much like in running, It's not the only test out there where you can determine threshold. A lot of people might be familiar, but maybe even more aren't. There's another test called a cycling ramp test, where you sort of start at a low number and each minute move up and get a little bit stronger, a little bit stronger, a little bit stronger. So ultimately, I think it's a little bit easier. I think it's much less daunting, gives you very, very similar results. And maybe most importantly for the multi-sport athlete, this doesn't quite beat you up the way that 20-minute all-out FTP test works on the bike. So it would be worth taking a peek, doing a little research. If you want to do that, an FTP test on the bike, but in the middle of key run training, I would absolutely consider the ramp test. There are cons. You have to have some sort of a bit of data analytics to be able to go back and look at that workout and pull the wattage for the final minute. I won't go too deep into it right now. You have to be able to do a little planning to structure that workout, unless you have some sort of platform like a Zwift or a Garmin bike computer or something that's got it built in already. But it's a really good test, and certainly worth doing something. I actually think Coach Greg over on our cycling side has got a little YouTube video about how to set it up and how to do a ramp test. So if anyone has curiosity on how to do a ramp test instead of that 20-minute traditional, just drop me a line here on the Facebook page. I will seek out that video and make sure I link it for any and all interested parties, but definitely worth a peek. And, variety is the spice of life, so try something new. Next question here is, I'm curious about hills during our easy run. Should we slow down to keep it at an easy effort or try to avoid hills altogether? I saw Christy come in here, so we can't avoid hills altogether, Christy. It's just not going to happen, even if you live in Plain States, you got to come race in other areas. And so for the large amount of people headed down to Nashville for the half marathon and marathon weekend this year, certainly looks like a hilly course, so we better get ready for it. So I like hills on easy days. On easy days, I like hills. On long runs, I love hills. I want them included very often. One, the variety is nice. It's when you're running flat all the time, you're landing on the exact same part of your foot. This musculature is used very similar over and over and over again. Inclusion of uphill and downhill, it varies the stride length. It varies where you're landing on the foot. It swaps the energy demands of your muscles from posterior chain to front of your legs, etc. It provides some variety. So when you think about the repetitive stress injury nature that comes with running in particular, it has to do with a lot of the same. So the inclusiveness of incline as part of your workout, I'm a big fan of. However, especially on your easy runs and long runs, both of which being easy, you really do have to manage your effort intensity. So I don't want anyone, in the middle of a big hill. You have to be able to back off the pace, match the effort, and make sure that even though there's the incline, you're maintaining a nice, easy effort, not letting your heart rate soar out of your chest. So if you're doing the workouts outside, you have to go by feel for the most part, unless there certainly are power meters on the market now. Stride has one. I think Garmin has started incorporating some, whether it's via the watch or FootPod. So power is an interesting metric, very new to the marketplace, but becoming more prevalent. But for the most part outside, it's by feel. It's just matching that effort level from flat to incline and then letting it resettle. And naturally, in doing so, you're going to have to drop off your pace a little bit on that incline to match the effort level. Inside, you're going to do a very similar thing, unless newer treadmills, especially ones that include biometric, foot mapping, etc. But a lot of them also include an output number, which is kind of that same, is a power metric that they're giving you. Very handy metric when you want to maintain the same effort level at different incline. Because as you add incline, you decrease pace, you try to look to make sure that output number remains consistent. That's going to be a very quantifiable way to make sure that your effort stays consistent from the flat to the incline, but you still get all the benefits I talked about. You get the change of stride length, you get the variety in the run, you get the use of different muscles in different ways. So you get all those benefits in a very, very clear-cut way. So makes it very easy on the inside. Outside, there's always little variables that make things very particular to outdoor running, outdoor racing as well. So both great opportunities, or great tools to use for hill running. And then finally, one more time, do not try to avoid all hills. Let's make friends with the hills. What goes up must come down, and we got to be prepared for that part of the race too. So friends with the hills. Well, that is all for our week 5 athlete briefing. Thanks as always for being with me here tonight, a Friday night. Can't wait to finish it up here in a week time with week 6. We'll see you next week.